but at least I know that I can speak to a couple of things that can help you get out there, even within not just the scope of Nigeria, but even within Africa and even outside of the world. Because I think when you look at yourself as a QA, you are not looking at yourself as somebody within the scope of just within your space alone, but you want to be able to explore even beyond the scope of Nigeria, because you want to be that good that you can go into any interview in any part of the world and come out good. Though it's a learning process, it's a learning curve, but it's a process that one can always get there. And yes, as I would say, I'm also a work in progress. I'm also learning, I'm also using the opportunity to also refine myself, get better by the day, because with the way the world is changing, new realities, new expectations, and also with the tools and also with AI also coming into this space and a lot of things. So there's a lot of learning to go on with. So basically, let me just get right into it as what are the expectations from a QA side of things, especially when you are preparing for interviews or trying to put your CVs together and try to sell yourself out there so that somebody out there can see and okay, let's give this person a chance. And then when you get the opportunity, you can then um will I say do very well at your interview. So basically, I know most of the times I've had experience or conversations with people, and I've come to realize that a lot of times a lot of QA engineers go into interviews thinking that the only thing I really need to pass this interview is just knowing my tools. Because nowadays I hear a lot of things around, so many buzzwords around, Cypress, Selenium, all playwright, everything and the rest. But the truth about it is that those, while knowing those tools are very, very good, also understanding the fundamentals and also understanding systems the way they are quite critical to also acing interviews or leaving a lasting impression on the minds of HRs or interviewers, as the case may be. So it's not just about um, knowing tools alone, right? Hello? Somebody saying something. Hello, someone saying something. Oh, okay. That must be so. Basically, as I mentioned, it's not just about knowing tools alone, but you want to be because as a software tester, as a Q engineer, as a quality assurance analyst, as a manual tester, as an automation tester, regardless of whatever semantics that is being used. One of the key things is for you because you are also somebody who has a very proper understanding of how systems should work. Not just because you understand you are not just testing because you want to be able to test between oh, this is the requirement and this is what is expected, and then you test and say, oh, it's passed or it's failed and all of that. But you want to an understanding of systems and you want to be able to think like how a user will think. You want to be able to think how a developer would think. You want to be able to think about a whole lot of things. So I think some of the things that are very, very important as a Q engineer when you want to um, prepare for interviews. And one thing I always tell people is that for majorly any area of any career area, one of the key things that are very, very important is how you communicate. Because first of all, you want to be able to communicate clearly your experience, or even if you are a new entrant into the field, you want to be able to communicate who you are. You want to be able to communicate your experience. You want to be able to communicate some of the things you've done. You want to be able to communicate it clearly. And this form of communication, I know maybe the HR person might also speak more about it. I'm not so sure, but yeah, I know that um, your CV out there is also your tool of communication in terms of communicating who you are, communicating your experience, your expertise, your story, your failures, your strong points, your strengths, and all that may be. So I think one of the things that you must practice while you are trying to get out there, while you're trying to put yourself out there, your CVs, and when you're getting interviews, is that you want to be able to start practicing clear communication, how you communicate your CVs, how you communicate your personality, and all of that. So it's very, very important that when you are, for example, preparing your CVs, you need to be able to look at what are the things that I need to put, what are the things that are very, very important, that shows um my experience, my knowledge, some of the things I've taught, some of the things I've handled, that has also shown my impact so far. You understand? Is somebody, sorry, hello? I think I'm hearing some. Okay. Okay. So those are some of the things. So I think practicing clear communication is very, very key. It's a very, very key area about that. And I know that most times why I mention clear communication is that, especially when you get interviews, one of the first things, or typically the first questions that happens, even within Nigeria, even outside of Nigeria, is the first thing you tell me about yourself. And that is one of the things that come out from, tell me about yourself. And you want to be able to have itemized all of your experience, all of your strengths, all of the things that you've been able to do, all of the level of impact you'll be able to have. And you want to be able to fix all of that and communicate it clearly to whoever you may be in front of at that particular point of in time. So this question never really is never really out, especially when you get interview opportunities wherever in the world. I've noticed that it's always about tell me about yourself, because those questions, I've been in an interview where they told me about yourself actually led into other areas, other conversations. Because for myself, for example, I always have like almost close to like 5 lines or 6 lines of things to tell about myself. Right, I talk about my personality as a QA person, being curious, being somebody who pays attention, being curious, and all of that. I also talk about all of my experiences. I also talk about some of the things that I've touched. I also talked about one or two of the impact I've had, and all of these things, and I put it together and I'm able to communicate that. And in that interview, I remember it now led to, oh, you've done this, you've done that, and then from there, it started building up the conversation, right? It didn't. So sometimes there might be some prepared questions by the interviewers, just to say, okay, these are the things we want to ask. But just that, tell me about yourself alone can also lead into other conversations. And so you need to be able to communicate it. Like somebody who, for example, is let me use somebody like is somebody who has 3 years of experience. You say, oh, I'm a QA engineer with over 3 years experience, both in manual and automation. I've been able to work on web and API applications. So I've been able to design test cases, perform regression testing, validate APIs using Postman, and I've also been able to build expertise by using Cypress for web automation applications and all of that. Then you'll be able to bundle all of this together and then speak when you have questions in this area. And then I think once you have been able to master clear communication, it's one of the very, very important will I say, one of the important aspects of being a Q engineer. You must be very, very clear in communicating and communicating your experience, communicating whether you're at 0 years of experience, whether you're 1 year, whether you're 2 years, whether you've not even touched something before in terms of real life applications, but you've actually had experience, have an understanding of how systems should work. You should be able to communicate that so that at least the person seeing that will be able to decipher and know that, okay, this person is at this level and these are some of the things that this person has been able to do. So it's not just, as I mentioned, it's not just about the tools. Knowing the tools is also a very important thing. some of the things you need to be able to work effectively. But practicing clear communication is one of the very first thing that you must be able to hold on to as a QA. So you're able to clearly explain what you've worked on, the problems you've solved, and the kind of impact you've made. And also you're able to think like a system and not just a tester. You understand? Because when you are communicating, you're not just saying I tested the APIs, for example, but you could also mention things around validating, oh, I validated business logic. I also checked for data integrity and also edge cases. So you are thinking um in the sense of how systems should think and not just a tester. You're also focusing on real world scenarios, for example, and all of that. So communication is very key. Also, I know questions about things around your current role. So you want to be able to some of those things. And as you can see, as I'm going, yes, I'm talking about the things to expect, but communication is also a very, very key thing because you want to be able to answer questions on what do you do in your current role? For example, for somebody who is I'm using 3 years as a guide, for example, so that I might be able to cover because when we look at it from 0 to 3 years, 3 to 6, from 6, those kind of things, you want to be able to um we want to be able to look at it and say, okay, from a 3 years perspective, I've been able to analyze requirements, writing and executing test cases, perform the testing, been able to work on various validations and rest, being able to also identify defects and clearly communicate those defects. Also, more importantly, you're able to collaborate with developers, uh, of stakeholders in the agile. So you want to be able to, and the case may be, and all of it to by including specs, reusable page actions, features for data, and some of those things that are expected for you to say. So you want to be able to also answer some of those things. I know that when questions keep on coming like that, questions will come in the area of the difficulties you faced as a kid. Time it could be around people, it could be around tools, and it could be around yes, most times some of these difficulties are around most likely people or tools because in terms of people, in terms of maybe things are not properly communicated, or maybe for example their expectations that oh this was supposed to happen at this time maybe because of the delays here and there, you're not able to meet up with some of these deadlines. So some of these things, or maybe because there's a member on the team that is acting in a weird way. I don't want to use other words in a weird way, and you need to be able to manage some of these things alongside work or maybe tools, for example, maybe the tools you are using, for example, at that period in time might not be one of the right tools to use for what you want to do. So as a result, it's slowing down the process and all of that. So those are some of the things you want to be able to also answer. Another thing is you want to be able to answer, okay, for example, when you talk about as a QA, what are the things you do in order in this ever because the truth is the world is advancing and as I mentioned, AI is a very important aspect of our lives now. You discover that with the way AI is going, and now is many of us see news and information here and there. How you see this number of people have been laid off because AI is also taking their jobs and all. But the truth about it is that yes, AI has come to stay, but also as a Q, you are also adapting and understanding how AI can also help because I'm in an interview a while ago and the senior person, like the senior VP, was asking questions around how I've been able to use AI for my day-to-day work, for example, in the area of test case writing. Because today now, the expectation is that when you say, oh, for this requirement, it will take 5 hours to write test cases. With AI now and with those, you're able to say, oh, what should take you 5 hours as a QA should take you maybe 1 hour, because you want to be first understand develop what the expectations is, and how you are able to feed all of this information into those prompts that would help you generate faster, and then you're able to review it clearly and say, okay, does this based on the output you've gotten from the AI system and all of that. So you want to be able to understand how you're able to learn, keep learning, and keep adapting as the QA space keeps evolving, as tools for automation keep evolving, as tools for continuous integration and continuous development coming to the scene, as coming into the scenes as AI and all of that. So you want to be able to also push it out. So you as I mentioned, is very key. Is very key. So I just quickly want to run through some questions that I have from some of them that people have also mentioned, like things around for example, what the questions could be around what is API testing, what is regression testing, and all of that. I'll keep going. The fact that communication is a very, very, very integral part of all of these things. So you want to be able to understand, okay, is API testing? Is it just about validating endpoint for correctness and performance security tools so you want to be able to break that down, because you just don't want to say oh, API testing is just about yes, it is about validating endpoint for correctness, performance and security, in the sense of, oh, instead of just clicking through, for example, UI, you want to be able to validate status code, response data, business lead, authentication, error handling, and edge cases, as the case. I'm not so sure how many as I continue this. Please, you could just drop it in the chat so that I would know. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I think I've seen that. Okay, so another thing also is one of the things as a QA engineer, a software tester, as I mentioned, I've also said all of these things are semantics, right? That because sometimes the key thing is that, as I mentioned from the beginning, you're thinking like a system. So, for example, how do you ensure quality? Those kind of questions can come to a QA engineer. So, and I know that one of the key things in ensuring quality, because I'll keep re-echoing some of the things I've mentioned from the beginning. One of the key things I mentioned is communication, and which is very key. So, and that means that, and also I mentioned that you are not just thinking as a tester, but you're thinking as a system. And what that means is that in ensuring quality, as a QA engineer, you want to ensure that you're involved early in the requirement and design discussions, so that you are able to sell features for the early, understand which features are testable, which ones also are aligned with business, because you are not just somebody who is there sitting in, you are not just for your space thing, but you are also there as part of the engineering team, or as the agile team, as the case may be. You are also part of that team. You are also a very key contributor to ensuring that the system is built right and according to expectation, and also that everything functions well. So you want to ensure that you get involved early in the requirement and design discussion, ensure that the features they are tested and they also align with business need. And then you also want to say that you are, throughout this process, you are applying a risk-based testing approach, where you also focus on critical user flows, high impact areas. And because the key thing is that, because for systems you have for example, you could have up to um maybe, for example, maybe a sprint, maybe like 3, 4 requirements into. So I want to you've developed tests because were involved from the very beginning. You want to ensure that okay, those critical user flows are like kind of itemized quickly early so that you can go from there downwards. So you want to be able to identify those critical user flow and those areas that have high impact that you know that if these areas don't function well, it could be a loss to the company or based on maybe financial loss or maybe you have customers that just check out you're based on oh this thing doesn't work as expected and then everybody moves on and all of that. And also in things like not just testing, but you want to validate business logic and data integrity because, as I mentioned, you're not just thinking as a system, as a tester, but you're thinking as a system. So you want to be able to ensure that I'm not just testing validate I can log in, validate I can see, but you want to also say that oh, even though I can log in, you want to also ensure that there's data integrity. You're validating what is also on the back end in terms of the data, all of that. So you are seeing that oh, this thing oh it's not just I can log in as a user, I can see it on the front end, but also in the database layer at the back end also that it's functioning as expected, that oh nobody can easily tamper with the data and all of that. So you want to also with all of this, ensuring all of these things, you want to show that you have an end-to-end ownership mentality. And with this, I'm mentioning things like CI/CD, mentioning things like monitoring and feedback from production and all of that. You've been able to cover number one, the process, because from the beginning you mentioned about getting involved early in the requirement phase. You've also mentioned things around risk-based approach, and that risk-based approach focuses on things like manual testing, and then automation, especially at the API level. And then you mentioned things around CI/CD. You mentioned things around business logic and data integrity. So you've been able to cover both process, you've been able to cover both tools, and you've been able to have cover that mindset of owner, as the case may be. So another one is okay, I know that sometimes questions like this could also come up about why should we hire you? And sometimes it could be like, how do I go about answering this question? And I think this is a very, very perfect opportunity to actually sell yourself. And you see that this is back to communication. You want to be able to talk about your your experience, your system level thinking, and your ownership from end to end. You want to be able to talk about your experience in terms of numbers of years. You want to talk about not just that oh I test features, but that short systems work reliable in real world and conditions, especially even for complex back-end driven and transaction with application. You also want to mention things around oh you have maybe strong experience in API testing or database validation or integration in automation into CI/CD. You also want to mention beyond your technical skills, how you are a good collaborator with both engineering and product teams, and how you are able to drive improvement, ensuring that quality not just start and ends with you, but it's something that you are able to scale around across the entire team or organization, as the case may be. So I think I would be okay. So before I round up in the next 1 minute, there's also the things around handling pressure because in the world we are and especially in the IT space is a fast-paced world, and you see that you want to do things and get those things out quickly. Oh, it's like especially now with even AI, you want to be able to develop an application today, test it today, and then deploy today and get it to the customers today and all of that. So handling pressure also is a very, very important aspect that the QA also must master. And this involves things like understanding how to sorry, this is like a title from me, prioritizing task and also communicating effectively so that when things are at the point where it looks like, oh, it's moving slow, you are communicating. When it's moving fast, you are communicating. When there are blockers, you are communicating. When these blockers are solved, you are communicating, and all of that. So I think I've come to the end of my little talk, basically, and I'll say thank you all for listening, and thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Adewale. That was so loaded. I believe every one of you has caught one thing or the other from what he explained. So he emphasized about communication. As a QA, you should be able to communicate clearly, and you should also be able to manage your stakeholders through adequate communication. Another stakeholder that you need to manage is your developer. Yes, developers will annoy you. There are several situations where they come back with it's not a bug, it's a feature. You should be able to handle them diplomatically and ensure that your differences doesn't become a blocker to completing the task. So we'll be introducing our HR specialist. Her name is Ajoke Salami. So I'll briefly read through our profile. Ajoke Salami is a talent acquisition and people operations specialist. He's the founder of the Compass Initiative. He has a strong track record of building high-performing teams and structuring scalable HR systems within fast-paced organizations. She currently drives people strategy and community excellence at Peerless SGC, where she leads end-to-end hiring, organizational design, and employee experience initiatives. Our expertise: with a strong background spanning recruitment, consulting, HR framework development, and workforce optimization, Ajoke has successfully designed and implemented critical HR structures, including job architecture, KPI systems, onboarding frameworks, and performance management processes for growing businesses across Nigeria. She brings deep expertise in organizational design, talent strategy, and building people-first cultures that drives performance. Our advocacy: beyond corporate HR, Ajoke is the founder of the Compass Initiative, a purpose-driven movement committed to guiding young people and women towards clarity, growth, and intentional living. Through mentorship, career direction, and personal development programs, she has impacted emerging talents across Nigeria. She's a speaker and thought leader, passionate about helping individuals find purpose and build meaningful careers, and embrace growth with clarity and confidence. She believes where people, purpose, and performance converge, building teams and transforming lives, it's very critical. Can you drop your emojis to welcome our HR and people operations specialist, Ajoke? You're welcome, Ma. Please do have the floor.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you so much for such a loaded session before mine. I was going to say that, are you sure I should take anything else? Because he has discussing today. But to put more light into what you shared earlier, I'll be sharing a slide. But before then, I'll first talk about what is very important when you are preparing for an interview, whether you're transitioning, you get to check what you weigh in the market. I know that talent still do that. I know people still do that. What is important in doing an interview is first what your intentions are. And I just mentioned 3 of it. What do you want to do? Exactly. Are you really habits? Like some candidate have told me, I'm not really interested in the role. I just want to know if I still have it. Okay. Somebody just got me and I interviewed. I'm not giving them job.
Now, what kind
Anyways,
of
so
they can give us, we'll just hold in case of me.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that.
Apologies, ma.
Okay.
Please, let's mute
All
our
right,
mic.
guys.
If we are
So,
not speaking, please, let's mute our mic.
like I said, we'll speak about
Please, go
motive
on, ma.
first. Is what your motive is. Can everyone hear me? It seems like there drops of feedback here and there
Clearly,
from
ma. I can
the
hear you
chat.
clearly.
Okay, I want to be sure that we are. All right, so.
Can I stop sharing now while you share your screen?
Like I said, first thing first at all. Like I said, you'll be shocked what people's motive are. Some people's motive is to know if they still have it on their role. Some people's motive is actually to look for another job pending, when they're tired of their particular the market strength at the moment. What's the market speaking about my role? What is the questions that have been asked? What do I need to get better at on my role? I know that you're not sure that those things are true, but they are. Right. So what's your motive? Motive is to get another job. The most important first few things to do is, what does your profile look like? And I'm not just saying CV. I'm saying, what does your profile look like? Does your CV match the quality or value that you would actually do on the job? I say that it is okay for you to doctor your CV if you want to, but be sure that when you doctor that CV and I hire you, you're going to do exactly what is doctored on the CV. Your CV speaks exactly what your strength and your skill is cut out first. If you look at your CV and you can tell, oh, my CV states that I am an outspoken person, I'm a team player, I'm very good at communication, and in real time or in real life, you are not that person. Maybe you should start working at to doctor your CV if you want to, but you still have time to work at that doctored part of your CV. The part that I would never actually advise anybody to do is to doctor skill sets on their CV, because you cannot catch up in less than a month on skills. I've had to interview a couple of people that I see, and when we have interviews, I realize that they do not even understand what those skill sets are. Right? I also have had interviews with people that over the years, you realize that they cannot defend what is on their CV. This in mind, I would want to share my slide so that we can go through talking, but I like to have my sessions very interactive so that it doesn't look like I'm talking to just myself, so that someone is not frying a camera and I'm just talking and they're like, oh, I get you. I hear what you're saying there, right? So while I'm pulling up my slides, I would like people to go on this very important to them when they are planning for an interview. One thing that is important to them, what is that one thing that you prepare for when you are preparing for an interview? One thing that you think is important when you're preparing for an interview is, I have to look good. I have to make sure that my hair is on fleek. I have to make sure that my CV is on. I have to make sure that there's lights. What's important to you? So you can say any of these things that I said, but what's important to you? Let's drop it on the chat box so that I'm sure that we are all together. I haven't gotten anybody's message. To be sure that we are together, what is important to you before you go into an interview? Thank you, first prices I have in my CV. Great work. Storytelling is one of the most important part of selling at the moment, which people don't even understand. Our earlier facilitator had spoken about how it's important for you to sell yourself in an interview. Very important. Very important to sell yourself. It's very, very important. He said, Rukayat said, I studied the fundamentals. Thank you, Rukayat. To defend everything I have on my CV. Great work. Thank you. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. Let us keep it coming. All right. Can everyone see my slide? Can everyone see my slide? Can everyone see my slide, please?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Also, hold on a second. Okay. All right. Can we also see my slide now? Thank you. All right. So, first thing is why interview skills matters. So when I asked that question, what is important to go for an interview? It's just for other people to understand that what you are looking out for might not be what other people are looking to prepare for too, right? Like I said earlier, I mentioned that technical skills are not just enough, right? First thing is technical skills are not enough, right? While interviews ask you what's your impact on the current role that you have, and you think that you are technically inclined with everything that the company wants, I want to break it to you that you can be very technically sound and you might not be cultural fit for the role, right? It is very important that you demonstrate effective communication and interpersonal skills. You have to explain how good you are with communicating your skill members, with people that you have worked with, the impact that that communication has on each of the project that you have worked on at a particular time. And then also there's an impact of communication option. It influences the hiring decision. I will tell you an example. I have had to hire somebody. You ask me how, why? The person had if the skill set that we're looking for that role is 100%, the person had a 50%. We had another person on that same interview that had a 75% skill set, had I know what I'm doing, I can do it all by myself attitude. Why the other lady with the 50% skill set had I know right now might not be the best because I'm thinking, what do you people do differently? I can learn from you guys. While I bring what I know with what you know, we can get a better result, right? For me, that was very paramount. I'm not about to have somebody on the team that is a wall and the person thinks that they are their land of knowledge, right? So it is also very important that you have a personality that shows that you are open to learning. Tell you, no matter how good you are, even I've had interviews with CTOs, and I can tell you that when you're having conversations with them, what they do most is they speak, they listen to you while you speak. You can't see my screen anymore. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Okay, how about now? Is it better now? All right. So what they do is they listen a lot than they speak. And this is not to say that it should, like I said, it's not contradicting each other. You said we should sell ourselves. You're also saying that we should listen. There are times for everything. There's time for you to listen. There's also time for you to speak. There's something that I called an elevator pitch, right? When you're given 1 or 2 minutes to introduce yourself, be sure that within you have enough dose. It was something that the earlier facilitator had mentioned, that you share in a way that question that the viewer want to ask you, the answer is already embedded in the first. When I used to work in a recruitment agency, minute of that call determines if the person is going to stay on the call with you or not. This is how it goes. Hi, my name is Ajoke, talent acquisition specialist. I work with PLS. So I'm just using an example. I don't want to mention the company that I used to work with. PLS, am I speaking with Jadi? And the person say, yeah, Jadi is speaking. How may I help you? Oh, actually, I want to know if this is a good time to talk. Jadi, of course, will say no, or comes back to say, oh, Joke, can we have this later? See, the person happens. Why is Joke calling me? Right? So what do I do? What do I do in that state? Immediately I drop the call. Say, for example, Jadi did not give me did not give me an opportunity to have to Jadi and say, hi Jadi, Joke here. I was reaching out as regards a recruitment that, I am currently a job I'm currently hiring for. I don't know if you would like, you're open to a conversation. Jade is interested. Jade, call me or message me. If she's not interested and she doesn't message me, it's also fine. It makes my work easier. So I'm not chasing, I'm not chasing into a that is not fruitful. What I'm trying to say? What I'm trying to say is it's important that you introduce yourself. Let almost all the answers be embedded in that introduction, right? So first thing first, that's the first first, right? The other thing is your confidence sets you apart from others. This used to be a problem actually back in maybe a few years ago. I'm not sure if software engineers still have that or techies still have that. Techies are so skilled, they don't know how to communicate their skills. I used to say that a lot. I said, techies are so skilled, they don't know how to communicate their skills. But I don't know if that's very expressive techies, right? Your confidence distinguishes you from other candidates. When a recruiter or viewer is having a conversation with you during an interview, what they are looking out for is first, you actually give me a job to do. I can go and learn everything about being a software engineer and will jump on a call and sell it to you and you'll believe. But there's a part of our job as a recruiter, I call it the mental and emotional, now psychological part of our job that can tell if things are disadvantage to people that are either shy or cannot specifically express themselves. Very big disadvantage. So, for example, I've had particular projects. The project is very big, so I would assume that when you jump on a call, I would be expecting somebody very confident in their skill set. But fortunately for me, that the person that I was interviewing, good project. Oh yeah, this is what I did. Yes, we did that. And I'm like, what did you do? You couldn't even explain the joy, the teamwork, the skill sets, the languages, the coding, the experiences they had, the failures. Oh, I got to the finish line. We did it and it was successful. As sweet as results can be, right? Experience also is very important for you to be able to sell that. I had an experience on this job, and I can replicate the same other job in this space is very important, because I cannot just believe you because you said so. Even if the result is certain, guess what? It's not just you that worked on that project. There are other 6 or 5 people that are also on that project. How can I tell what exactly that sets you apart? That's on why interview skill sets matters. My next slide is interview process overview. This is a little dive into what we look out for, or what our process is like as HR, or as interviewers, if you would call it. The first thing that is very important was when recruiters or when interviewers, even recruiters, are looking out for people that they're hiring. If I am looking for someone, I am not just looking for someone that is technically sound. I'm also looking for someone that my current company is very flexible, we have an open door policy. Our CEO is everywhere and anywhere. He's gisting, seated, making jokes, laughing. He's an elderly person, but he bangs and he plays with everybody. He works in people's office to say hi. You can walk into his office at any time. That operates on a closed office leadership style, or also thinks that everybody should call him Mr. or use sign and email. I'm sorry, I'm not going to hire the person. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. You might say, oh, why is that? He cannot understand what we are doing. It will take us another, say, few months to get the person acclimatized with what we are building here. And when the person comes, the person will straight their direct line of role we are not building in the company. And what I'm saying right now is a real life thing, right? You will have an expectation of what we are not building at the moment. So what I'm trying to say in this is that cultural fit is very important. And this from a candidate's perspective, from your perspective, it is also important that when you are looking for jobs, I say this every time, be sure that as much as recruiters are looking to hire you, onto you. I can tell how many companies have reached out to me, and I have sent email back to say, oh, thank you for reaching out, but I cannot. At the moment, I'm not open to the opportunity. And it's not because the opportunity is not good. It's just because the company does not have the kind of culture that I would thrive in. Not because banks we don't have great banks, right? Sterling, for one, is a great place to work. Sterling Bank is a great place to work. But because I cannot confine myself into wearing suits and shirt and tie, and I don't you can't confine. I wear that when I feel like you can't confine me into that particular. It's as tiny as that. I'm not a cultural fit for them, right? So what I'm trying to say is, as companies are reaching out to you, be sure that you're also scrutinizing to be sure that everything they say about this was what they are planning, what they are building, is something that I want to work with too, right? So this is a two-way conversation. They're scrutinizing you, you're scrutinizing them too. Thank you. Of course. I think this one, our other facilitator had made mention of a lot of things about it. He had mentioned how it is important for you to speak about your skill set and your knowledge, or what from the beginning to the end. Make practical, explain practical illustrations of the things that you have done, that particularly that particularly explains Okay, so I had mentioned about when you're doing a technical interview, it's very important that you put your all in all, right? That you put your all in all is very, very important. That you state basically all.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? I feel like I'm.
I go work no. I'm gonna carry down market. She market street. Down outside.
Is it better?
Yeah, still.
Hi, everyone.
Yes, it's better. We can hear you now.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Okay. I want to be sure that I'm not speaking to myself.
Sorry for the interference. Okay.
All right, great. Thank you. So I said the other that I dive into that because our other facilitator has spoken more. In fact, he spoke so much more about the technical part of it than what I can even explain relating to QA engineers. And I think that is part that we know it is not because they want to give you more work to do. It is because they want to learn your thought process. In fact, it is not there's no, I'll say this, there's no right or wrong answer in you people's job. The took is what we usually want to see. How did you go about it? Everybody might arrive at the same answer, but how did you go about it? Did you have to travel all the way to Kapansha just to get to Beijing, or you have to go to China just because you're coming back to Lagos, right? It's a thought process that they are trying to see. Back to hiring manager evaluation. This inside conversation on what hiring managers look at or evaluate from candidates is first. What if you're a team fit, if you have ownership potential, and then you are very, 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 I can say this very like 6 million times. You are very autonomy oriented. It is very important that as an individual, in fact, whether a QA engineer or software developer oriented, you take responsibility for every project that you are involved in, whether as a team player or as a team lead. These are when I'm hiring for candidates, when I'm interviewing candidates, and I listen to the person's first introduction and I've seen the person's CV and I know that the person has, good skill set for this role that matches or mirrors what I'm looking out for in my job description. What other thing that I'm looking out for is this person a team player? What's the collaborative skill that this person has? Does this person have autonomy on their role? If something happens, is this person not going to push every other person on their team under the bus, right? There's a recent conversation in my company as regards, how engineers do test cases and they don't document it. I'm sure that everybody here are aware of what I'm saying. And this conversation where clients came back and said, where are the documentation for this? And we worked on this, the changes that happened. And everybody is, I can't, and Jira is empty. And I'm like, okay, so what happened? How did this happen? It was just empty. Everybody was back and forth. Everybody was, nobody could take autonomy of, this is what happened. This, my team. And it is because documentation is important on your role, very, very important. It is where we can trace back to, this is how it happened. This is the person that dropped this test case. This is the person that did this and all the conversation. So yeah, like I said, it is very, very important that you explain or you show in your interview that you are very autonomy. If you make mistake on it, you can take responsibility for it, right? I want to be sure that I'm not going, okay, effective self-introduction strategies, right? I think I've explained this earlier. Who are you? What's your previous QA was focusing on key achievements, use metrics, and numbers are important. Big numbers, such as reducing bugs by 30% to illustrate your impact. Don't tell me that, 5 of them have not gone live. Okay, so which one have gone live that we cannot see? Because if they have not gone live, they have not QA'd. Do get me now? They have not successfully QA'd. Is there any particular one, any small one that you collaborated with somebody that you have an impact in the project at a particular time? Also, it is important that, and explain, somebody had said that you make research before you join an interview. Discuss how you're enthusiastic about joining the company. Now, I'm not saying you should beg. Don't beg any company, because guess what? As the company needs you, in fact, it's a give and take, right? That's why I said, if anybody reach out to you or you see a job ad, don't just jump on it because, I'm for a job. Make your research. So when you make your research, you're interested that I look forward to work with, because everything that it stands for aligns with everything that I am building, right? It's not because of the money that they offer. In fact, if they reach out to me today and they want to give me a pay cut, I'm probably join them, because everything that I am working towards, right? So yes, discuss your enthusiasm for the company's mission and how you are going to contribute to its success, right? Key qualities recruiters value: attention to details. I don't know how you're QA and you don't have attention. It's an oxymoron, standing side by side. QA, attention to details. QA, very, very important. And I'm currently hiring for, and you're saying your email is not your CV, and I'm telling you, your email, you're not saying it's not. Oh, let me check it. And I'm like, this one is going to. You might think, that's just a bed. Is as tiny as that. Guess what? HRs too, they are human beings like you. They are not machines. Analytic thinking aids in problem solving. So when we speak to each other, like I said, when we speak to QA, I said it that your thought process that my engineers ask during an interview, and is a bit tricky. Is the question is that would you rather pass the case that the front end, sorry, that back end I told you that is good to go, or pass it if you think that it is good to go? When they first asked the question, I mean, over the years working with tech guys, I tend to now understand why all these jargons that they talk about. Sorry, no. I was like, what kind of question is this? I mean, of course, I'm a QA person. Of course, and I'm like, okay, the person says it's good to go. It's good to go now. What do I need to check again? I was like, if I'm QA, if it's good to go, I'm good to go now. And they went over that conversation for like another 20 minutes. Everybody with different perspectives, asking questions of, is the person my line manager? Does the person have an expressive does that do my job anyway? Blah, 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 blah. And after that call, I asked, why did you ask that question? The answer is just barely sitting in front of you. You said no. What he wanted to understand is his tone when talking about the infantry of the back end to think that he can go ahead and just pass the case. Or his tone when saying that I know my job. There's nothing anybody can tell me. It's my job or nothing. If he's, open to taking, corrections, or open to taking suggestions. And I'm like, okay, we were not doing the same thing, because I was waiting for a yes or no question. And he said, oh, that had just one answer, but it was not the answer that I was looking for. He was looking for the person's, analytical thinking thought process, answering the question. I'm sure that you have heard this 1,000,000 times. Make a story out of it, sell it properly, tax, take your responsibility, what your impact was on the project, action, and then, what the reaction out of the interview. Beforehand, you can do, I call something like another 2 hours, let's do a replay, let's have a conversation, ask me questions. And there's Google there, you can always ask Google for questions like QA. Call a child that your friend that you can do replace with and reviews. So one of the most important parts that I think that cuts people off during interviews. I want people to send emoji if you can hear me talking. This is me wanting to be sure that it's not just. Hi guys, are you there?
Yeah, but the network is keeping. Sometimes it's break. I can't hear the whole conversation very well.
How about now? Can you hear your conversation now? It's nice that you drop a chat if that happens, so that I know where to pause and where to continue, right? Okay, so I just give a feedback that sometimes it breaks off. Okay, so thank you for the feedback. Okay, is it better now? Can you hear me clearly now? I said it's still breaking. Okay, how about now? All right, great. Okay then, thank you. It breaks in between. I really appreciate that you drop a feedback up, so that I'm not just going on and on thinking that I'm speaking. And the reason why I actually even paused in between is because that's part of what I wanted. I was using my phone earlier when I joined. When I wanted to turn into my own session, I had to use my laptop because I trusted my laptop to, do the job better than my phone. Thing first, test your equipment. Ensure that your audio and video are functioning properly before the interview. I know that we take these things lightly. We think that, oh, what's the water? Let me quickly join. You can lose, for example, now I feel bad that people have lost half of the information that I'm sharing just because my voice was breaking, right? A quick test can prevent technical issues that disrupt communication. Also, don't forget that Nigeria can happen to us, right? MTN can they, and and the rest of it, or lights can even go off. Yeah. Make sure that you have stable internet connection, and then also have a professional, clean background with good lighting, for example. Right? You can see my face. I was far from you because I wanted you to see my full face and my gesticulation when I'm talking. This part of my conversation makes it very, makes the communication good. It makes it good for me. It makes it, good for you too, right? What are the I've interview? You say, do you have any question for us? And then the answer is no. or sometimes say, what does my success rate on this job look like? Or you ask question and say, tell me about the company. I didn't answer the question. You know why? It is somehow. And it's not because I don't want to sell my company to the person. It's just that you're aware of the role that you're applying for. Do you know what the person told me? Oh, I just saw it on LinkedIn and I applied. So you had the time of application. You had few days after your interview, few days before your interview to Google, to say on the call that you now want me to tell you about the call. I must as well tell you about the school that you went to, because what? Anyway, so questions to ask recruiters, right? Inquire about success metrics, skills with company's expectation, ensuring a better fit and performance. For example, if you are, you were being interviewed for a QA role, the kind of question you should ask at the successful QA in the company. What does it look like to be successful in the next 3 months? What are the metrics that you would use, to measure me? The other question is, how do they collaborate at the moment? What's the size of the team, basically? And also, you cannot learn about the onboarding process. I think I would say that this is an interesting question for HR. It's like part of happiness from the HR when you say, after this interview, what's the next stage and what does the onboarding process looks like? It doesn't just make you get the happy side of the HR. It also makes the people that interviewed you know how it is used. So key takeaways. In summary, mastering interview skills is crucial for QA engineers, right? Focusing on clear communication. I'm sure myself and the early confidence, understanding what recruiters value, prepare for each interview stage, and avoid common mistakes. Remember, your technical skills may get you noticed. The offer. Embrace this insight to enjoy your interview performance and stand out in a competitive job interview. I leave you with this. All your skill sets are good, but are you as good as your skill sets? Thank you.
Thank you for the insightful session. I really learned a lot. In fact, I took a lot of notes. I dropped a message in the chat. You mentioned something about asking the next phase of the onboarding process, how it feels. Well, the network was breaking at that point. I could barely hear what you said at the end of the sentence. Can you just reiterate it?
Okay, I missed the last part of asking the last phase of onboarding. Oh, okay. Me giving insight on what makes us skills as a recruiter, right? So as HR recruiters, interviewers, for HRs, you're asking them about what their job feels like indirectly. If you ask me, what process that I am involved in, not particularly the QA jargons that people have been talking about, the terminologies and languages that you probably speak. I want to talk about something that I understand. That I am very involved in. Right? So it sort of costs the HR a feel of ownership. to explain what the onboarding process is. And aside from that, he also makes everybody else on that call understand, being enthusiastic about resuming with us, makes us feel like, oh, this person can't wait to join us. Now that you understand on the process, I don't have to share with him all over again. So I said earlier that it's important that you ask what the next stage of interview is, or how many stages of it to, you commit to doing one interview, because some companies have close to 5 stages of interview, physical interview combined. So it's important that you ask this question.
All right, thank you. So I know a lot of people on the call ask diverse questions, but I would like to go first. I have 2 questions. So how do you advise QAs or interviewees when they are on a call and the recruiter sometimes sound hostile? I'll believe that sometimes it might be deliberate. At times it might just be the personality of the person handling the interview. So how do you advise? Are we supposed to react or maintain a level of composure? Because honestly, at times it feels like, yes, I'm applying for the job. It's not as it feels like I'm not out of job. I have a job at the moment. So why being so hostile to me? And another part of the question is, should we just take it like this environment looks like is not going to be accommodating? Can we count that as some red flags to joining the organization?
Okay, I think it's a two-way thing, right? Let me say this. It's very, very, it's important that you understand that, like I said it earlier, HRs are humans, but I'm not making excuses, I'm just saying. But I don't think any of these excuse your behavior during a session that's professional when they are being hostile. Being professional, on this call, I have exhibited both a playful HR and the knowledgeable HR and a professional one. You take away the what's the word now? The insight or the level of knowledge that I have being playful, or being, being analytic problems. Let's not generalize that all HRs are like that. I mean, somebody has said interview them before, and I'm sure that I wasn't like that. Back to the last part of the question that said, should we think that that's how the company is? It's okay for you to judge them like that, because as they're interviewing you are interviewing them too. If you just 6 people, there is nobody on that call that makes a joke during an interview. Carry your bag and run. Because in the panel of interviews, there is supposed to be at least 1 or 2 people that are flexible. It's a thing, it's a natural thing. We have the stern people that are very stern, that ask you questions to drill you and get the best off of you. And we also have the people that make you comfortable, as Mr. A is Basbosi, Mr. B is rubbing you off and saying, it's not that you don't drink water. It's okay. Yakubu manage. Do you understand? So if you get to any session that you see, and they are not just professional, there is an attitude that is condescending to it, pack your bag and leave. Don't bother to because the culture is what you are seeing already. You will enter into that culture. So yeah.
Okay, if you have questions, can you just indicate by raising your hand before I get deep into those heart-burning questions you're willing to ask? So is there anyone that has questions? Please indicate by raising your hand. Okay, someone is raising.
Rukayat.
Okay.
Let's have you.
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly.
Thank you so much for this amazing session. Really, really appreciate it. I have a full note here. So, my question is actually for Mr. Adewale, but I would love your perspective as an HR, because it also has to do with communication, but it's technical. So I was opportune to be on the panel in January, and I realized that we have the HR on the board, we have a senior QA on the board, and then someone from the management team. And I, like you just said, we have different ways the question was coming in, and then I realized that the senior QA was technical. It was just, giving me the buzz on technical questions and all of that. And so my question is, during an interview where you try to be composed, you try to communicate clearly, and then you get question that you are unable to answer, like the person is giving you that vibe that no, you didn't answer my question. Come again, come again. What do you advise? Is it that one should move on? I'm on call. Can one just move on and say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't answer this question? Or can I keep trying to answer? What's the best way to manage that situation without feeling, without, how will I put it, distorting the stability or the balance of the interview, or maybe the confidence you think you've had with the past questions? Yeah, so I said technical because the question was on boundaries. I don't know if Mr. Adewale is on the call. Boundary value for testing a system. Like, say there is between 10 to 500 thousand number that you have to assess in the system. What are you going to check when you're checking when you're testing the value, the boundaries of those values? And then I was trying to say, hey, you test between 100 to 500,000. Was like, is that how you test? And you test 99.9, is that how you test? That was how the scenario went. And I was like, should I just shut up, or should I continue trying to satisfy this person? So that is my question. I don't know if I was able to hammer on the right way to state it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Do you want me to go, or sorry, or I don't know. Can I?
I think you should go. You should go first.
Yeah,
I'd like
from
to.
your experience, how would you manage it? Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, let me go first quickly. I think I get your question. And I was trying to put myself in the shoe of the person from a QA perspective. And we all have different personalities when trying to interview people and get answers from them. But one thing I think, before I go into the example you gave, one thing I know that is very key is that in as much as you're in an interview session and it looks like somebody's trying to throw you off balance, right? Maybe from where the questions are being structured, or it looks like the person is trying to make you feel like, oh, is it like this? Is it not this way? I think first of all, key thing is that, and it's something you can also practice over time, is that you try to stay as much calm as possible, right? And ensure that you are kind of steady, right? And not being defensive, number one. Because what you are trying to do is that you pause for some few seconds before answering, so that it shows some level of confidence and some level of that you are not certain about what you are saying. Sometimes even when you are not too sure about the answers, but you have an idea, or you can answer something about it, you pause, you give your answers, even though it doesn't seem like a perfect answer, but the thought process around it is what is key. That's what I sometimes always look out for. Once I'm opportuned once in a while to be on some panels in the past, you also the thought process is key. And then if you're not too sure, you can also clarify. You understand? So that it doesn't look that you are being unclear or aggressive. You understand? Just confirm. Oh, are you asking this or are you asking that? It shows some level of control and you're trying to be clear about your thought. And then you structure your answer. Now, in this case of structuring your answer, is where I will now come into the question that you ask in terms of the boundary value analysis thing. So I think the person gave you a scenario of saying, oh, 1 to 100, right? And then you now look at it and say, okay, how do I test for a value of 1 to 100? And I know boundary value has to do with, for example, you are testing the minimum boundary, you are testing above the minimum, you are testing normal value, you are testing above the maximum and all of that. And then you can just structure it in a way that, oh, if I'm given an input field of 1 to 100, my test case will be, first of all, the minimum, below the minimum, which is 0. I'll be testing also the minimum boundary, which is 1. I'll be testing above the minimum, which is 2. I'll be testing the normal value, which is 50. I'll be testing just below the maximum, which is 99. I'll be testing the maximum, and then which is 100, and then I'll be testing just above the maximum. So in a way, you are able to itemize your thought process to the person to say, I'm not just saying I'm testing 1, 2, 5, but I'm also testing 0, which is the minimum. You are also trying to place some level of aesthetics or some level of thought process around it. So you are able to communicate that information. And then if after all of that, it seems like, oh, the person is still not, then I think you can always try to move on from such kind of questions so that you can go into other conversations, so that it doesn't look like you are trying to be aggressive on the conversation, and at the same time you're trying to make the person feel bad. You are just trying to be clear in your communication. You try to process the thought, you've given it a different approach, and then if the person doesn't seem to buy it, then I think there's little or much you can do after all of this. I don't know if I've been able to answer your question, but if there's something else, or if
Yes, thank you so much. But when you say move on, like what's right word to use so that it will not sound like you mentioned aggressive or you're being defensive. Like I've tried my best to if you won't take this, don't take it.
Oh,
Just from your experience, like what's best
yeah,
word
yeah,
to
yeah,
use and to say,
yeah,
oh,
yeah, 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 yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I can't I don't think I want to do this anymore. I've tried. Let's move on to the next question.
Yeah, so you don't need to be like, oh, I've tried my best. You understand? I get you. So I think, okay, Salami, do you want to say something? Or should I let me just wrap it up? And then I think from our HR perspective, she can also give my own thought about it. So I think one thing I do, or one thing I would say is that you don't go in all aggressive about it. But after you've shared your thought process, you can just say, oh, I'm not sure I'm able to answer it the way you would expect me to, or something like that, so that it doesn't sound, oh, I'm sorry, I don't think I get you. It's just a polite way of trying to just make the person feel that, oh, you've done what you could do because this is the best way you feel this could come out from. And then I think from there, person will just, because it's not like as if you have the whole day trying to interview the person and all of that. So I think maybe Salami can come in to also provide some insight.
Okay. Rika, I think Adewale had mentioned the most important part of it, which is you have to show confidence and don't make it look like you're rude. Choices of words are very important. That connect that you're in control of what you're saying, and then also it's also important to give up at the point. It's also good to politely say it. Say, for example, you have answered the person like twice, and the person still insists that, oh, you're not answering my question very well. You can use this phrase. Um, do you mind stating very clearly? If the person states the question again and will answer, or maybe the person has stated like twice, and the person answered, and the person is not still satisfied. After you answer the question, you can then now say, to my best of knowledge, that's the answer that I can give. But if there are other to learning from you, and keep pushing. It means that I can't do that. What you just said means this is what I know. I can't do more than this. If you now know better than I do, maybe you should tell me. Do you get me now? Ruka, does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. Although I lost you for a bit, like your voice just went
I
off.
can't.
Can you hear me
Yes.
now? What about now?
Yes.
Yeah, I said I lost you for a bit. Your voice went off, but I get the last sentence. Yeah.
Okay. What I
Yeah.
said is
What?
take
Okay.
control
Thank
of the
you.
conversation and don't be rude.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Ask
Thank
the
you, Mr.
person
Adewale.
to restate the question again so that you understand. And the person does. Can you hear
Clearly, I
me?
can hear you clearly. I
Can
can hear you
everybody hear
clearly
me?
now.
Okay. All right, great. And if the person does, after answering the question, you can then tell the person, after you have answered the question, you can tell the person at the last phase of your answer the question and answer the question. But if there are any other way you would particularly want me to answer it, I would be glad to hear from you. I'm open to better ways to answer it. And let it go. So in that way, you have told the person, this stuff I can do, I can't do more than this. But if you want something better, we can as well teach me. I'm open to learning. You're not being rude, but you're being firm. And then you're telling the person,
Hello, I don't know if it's only me. I can't hear anyone speaking.
It's not just you, Ma. I think we lost her.
no, I'm done. I've answered your question. We're good.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
done
you so
answering your
much.
question.
All right. So I would like to add something to that. Is it fine if you're unsure of the answer, if you just add something like I stand to be corrected? Is it a good way of attempting question? The question is for Ajoke. Hello. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, I can
Sorry,
hear
I
you
was
too.
just disconnected for a while. Can you
Maybe
confirm that you can hear me?
I can hear you. Maybe
Hello.
she's not.
I didn't get
I
that.
can
Can you
hear
hear me? I can hear you guys, but I didn't
I
get what
don't
you
hear
said.
anybody.
Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you.
We can hear
Quality
you
text.
now, Madam Ajoke.
She's
Madam
she's
Ajoke,
she's
we can hear you
asking
now.
if you can
I
reply
can
like
hear you.
I stand to be. No, no, we can't get that. Your network is skip that moment. So if you
Hello.
can come again, please. Hello.
Did you hear me? I said that yes, she can stand to be corrected. This is what I know, but I stand to be corrected and I'm open to knowing how better to do it.
Okay. So I have a question. I don't know if I can go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Femi.
Okay, yeah. My question goes to Mr. Adewale. And about what we just discussed now, let me first chip into that. I had an interview like some weeks ago, And the lead QA among them was asking me the same question, like I'm not communicating in I mean in QA terminology that I need to answer my question in a. So I just replied that, oh, maybe if I'm lucky and I'm employed, that I would love to learn from him. So that's the way I just try to answer that question. Now, to Mr. Adewale, I want to ask, how do we get to know if they are the organization or the company is trying to use the person, like maybe they are telling you we are going to send you some packages, some online, you need to do some tests on it, and at the end they are saying maybe they are going to send like almost 5 pages that you need to do test, regression test, kind of test on it. How are we going to know if they are trying to use us or it's genuine? How do we know that? I don't know if I are able to communicate that question very well.
I think I get you, but I might not be able to speak for um all organizations, but for some of the organizations I've worked, especially when they are giving you, and I think I want to be corrected, Mr. Lufemi, that the question you asked in terms of like take home assignments where companies give and tell you to, am I correct? Is that in that line? Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
yes, yes.
Yes,
They send
like
me
take home.
almost five pages that I should go and work on it. And I was given 48 hours to do the
Oh,
test on them.
okay,
It's like
okay.
they are trying to push some kind of application to me, So I'm wondering that is this for real? Are you trying to use me for this project or what? Or you are trying to test my knowledge after they said, "Oh, I think you did very well in the interview," stuff like that.
Oh, okay, okay. So I might not be able to answer, but I know most processes for some organizations start with the take home assignment first because they want to be able to use that to filter out a lot of people. And so I think most times it doesn't even come after the QA interview. It comes before the QA interview because um the interviewers want to be able to see your thought process and how you're able to solve problems first before coming into an interview. So they use that to, okay, they send it to you. Oh, you can maybe there are some they will send you some automation to go and work on. Some will send you some maybe test cases to go and develop and write for some requirement and all of that. So in as much as you may be seeing it that way, I always take every interview because I can't answer for the company you've done that interview for, but I always take every interview as a learning process. Because every interview I have been into that I've either been successful at and I've also been unsuccessful at, regardless of the number of processes I went through or not, I've always taken it as a learning process. I've had interviews I've also done like take home assignment for, and they come back and they say, oh no, we are sorry, we can't be go beyond the stage. I've had ones that I've been worked with, and then I got to the final process and I said no, based on some things I felt, oh, we're not right, based on some packages and the rest. But I have some that I have been successful at. So I always take every interview as a learning process, just to be able to also add to my skill set, to know what is also the expectation currently in the market, and to also help me to see, okay, what are the things I can use to do better to improve myself. So in as much as you might be looking at it as, oh, the company might be wanting to exploit you and use you, me, I don't see it that way. I see it more as an opportunity to learn and to also help improve myself. But if it's something that you feel that this thing is too much for you to be able to do, I think based on yourself to be able to think through it and say, okay, is this something I really want to commit to? Because it's not like as if they are actually pushing it on you to say you must do it and all of that. So it's a thing that you can say, oh, I don't think I'm ready to commit my time, because you're also committing your time into doing that. Oh, I don't want to commit my time into doing this and all of that. So I think that's my own thought process around it. I don't know if you heard me, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I get that. Thank you. That timing is the most important aspect of it anyway. I think I get that. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
All right. Can I go now? Hello. Hello.
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Adewale. Thank you, our HR specialist. That was very insightful. Thank you, Adewale, especially for the last answer you gave. Just want to encourage people as well, in as well that we want to get job quickly, we want to stay in job. The last point Adewale said, I'm also a beneficiary of that. Sometimes you attend interview not because you just want to get a job, but because you want to get industrial experience. Especially as for the question, I think Femi was the one that asked that, using the technical terms. So attend as many as interview as possible. You may not get everyone, but you will learn from them. Okay, that is bringing me back to my own question. Adewale, and I would like, I think I have two questions, one for Adewale, one for HR specialist. To Adewale, if I'm being interviewed for a role on my CV,
I'm not sure I can hear. I can't hear anything. Hello?
Hello? Am I
Yeah,
still
you
audible?
broke out you broke out for like few seconds.
Okay. I said, let me rephrase. I said if I was interviewed based on my skill, well written on, it's going to be a 2-in-1. So I'll also prefer that the HR specialist also listen to the question. Okay, so on my CV, I already wrote my set of skills, manual automation, Cypress, Selenium, or whatever I use. But getting to the job now, my past interview, getting to the job, I'm asked to do load testing or performance testing. As a matter of fact, probably even security testing. And, this part of the work, what do you expect me to do? Am I to tell my supervisor or the management that I can't do penetration testing, or I can't do load testing, but give me some time I can practice it too? So that is for Adewale. Speaking from a TA perspective, what do you think I should do? Then the HR to the HR now. Now, obviously, to me, I think the management does not really know much about my role. That's why they will be asking me to do penetration testing, because that is for specialists. So how best professionally can I address that with the management without raising without causing issues for myself, so to say? Thank you.
Thank you, Funde. So I would say you've gone through an interview process, and based on what they've sold to you, it's like you are buying something else, kind of, let me put it that way. And then they're telling you to come and do. First of all, for security testing, I know most of the time for most organizations that are like very up to speed on what they do and they are matured in their process, the QA team is not actually responsible for security testing or penetration. There's a separate team that handles those kind of things, because because there are tools and all of that that are used for that, and you want that team to be able to be up to speed in terms of research, because security is a very, very, very important aspect in our world today, because everything is about security. Because one breach, you understand, can either lead to the company losing seriously financially, or into lawsuits, or into a lot of things. So security is a very, very important aspect that most companies always have a dedicated team, not the QA team, actually handling that process. But in terms of, I have come into the job and they're asking me to do certain things I cannot do, I think one thing is clear. You have somebody you are reporting to, who maybe your QA manager, your engineering manager, whatsoever it is that you report directly to. I think you may be able to sit down with that person and have that clear communication to mention, these are my level of experience. But I feel that, okay, with this number of time, maybe in the next for example, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I'm able to measure up to, I've been able to get this skill and use it to be able to solve this problem. Or can it be in 2 weeks? Or can it be, I don't know, you'll be able to work out. There's something that's like communication is key and being able to negotiate. Because also the truth about it is that when you're in a job, you are not just a QA person, but you should also have skill set around negotiating, especially negotiation with colleagues, negotiation with your line managers, negotiation with senior people that you may come across with, because it's also a very important aspect that you need to also develop when you need to climb up the ladder, or you need to grow in your career, or as the case may be, or you need to whatsoever. But it's key that you are a good negotiator, so you're able to go speak to whoever is you are reporting to and help negotiate and help that person understand that you don't have this skill set, but you are willing to be able to take on this responsibility, but you require X amount of time to be able to go up. And it might be that the company might say, okay, do we need to buy a course for you to do training, so that at the end of the day you can how would I describe it? You can learn this thing, and when you have learned, you can use it effectively in doing what we need to do in terms of a solution to the problem that we have, that kind of thing. I don't know if I've been able to answer your question well.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much. I don't know if the HR specialist also want to tell me something.
Hello, is she still on the call? I can't see her on the call.
I'm not sure she is.
She's not on the call. So I think we can take. Okay, she's back. You must have missed your question, Sunday.
I'm here on the call.
Okay. So Sunday was asking.
I think it would be nice to have Mr. Sunday's question, and then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ajoke,
Please,
thank you so much. Okay, yeah. I just personally appreciate your input. I mean, actually, it's very insightful. So not just the oncoming QAs, but we even on the field trying to expand. Okay, my question is this: at interview, you were asked specific questions based on your CV, your profile, but when you got on the job, you were asked some more things that are not actually part of your resume. So how do we address that? For instance, I'm a QA engineer. I already stated my tools that I use. But getting on the job, I'm asked to do penetration testing, which is very risky, which will take time to grow on. So how do I politely decline that, so to say? Thank you.
Okay, so you're not talking about interview now. So the JD that they gave you and what you are doing is different. Am I right?
Yes.
Mr. Sunday, please confirm. Okay. I think it's a very dicey conversation. You're turning between, and because that's what they hear. I cannot work with you. That's what they hear. Or I'm not competent enough. That's what they hear. Now I'm not, but let me speak from what you would want to hear is that how you go about the conversation. You can tell them your expertise. That is if you didn't lie during interview. If you had told them that you're not good in that aspect, it's okay to relay back to the person you're not it's not a good place that I can swim in. I can learn if that is if you're open to learning it, but I cannot swim in it. It would be nice that you assign this to somebody else. It's a conversation to it. There has to be a tone to it so that they are not hearing, I cannot work with you people. I don't want to work with you people. I am a subordinator. I don't want to be what I'm trying to say. Do you get me?
Hi, Sunday. Are you still on the call? Okay. All right, let's just move on to Debbie. Then after that, I can take the itemized questions I have here. Debbie, can go ahead with your question.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to our facilitators for the wonderful session. So I have two questions. So first off, I would like to ask as QA engineers, the best way to answer this question during interviews. So if one is being asked as a QA engineer, um, the product that you are working on is at the verge of release, but you discover a bug that the product is not ready because of a high priority bug that you discovered just a few minutes before release. How do you handle the situation with stakeholders on the neck of the company or product managers for the product to go live? So how do you handle um, the the situation? So that's my first question. Then my second question is for our HR. So how do we handle salary negotiation? So in terms of the company that is interviewing you, you read about them, but you are not so certain about their strengths in terms of financial budgeting for the role, or even maybe they are big companies. So how do we handle that? Maybe you would like them to tell you about their budgets so that you know what you say, but they don't want to budge. They just want you to tell you their expectation. Meanwhile, your expectation might be too high for their own budget, or if it's too low, that means you are being shortchanged. So how do we handle that scenario? So those are my two questions. Thank you. So please, did you hear me?
I don't want to go.
Yes,
Was that audible?
Okay, I
you
should go
said
in first.
Yeah, the
Okay.
first question is for
Okay.
you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yes, thank you, Debbie. So, I think just to answer your question and just to reiterate what you just mentioned, so I'm sure I got you right. You said you discovered a bug at the edge of release. Maybe there's a release coming up, and maybe it's tomorrow or something like that. And then while you're just trying to do some quick checks, you discovered that there was a bug at the edge of release. So I would say one thing you need to do, and because you've discovered that bug, is to first, as a QA, you have to first assess the impact and risk of that bug to production, because you need to be able to ask questions around what impact and risk does this bug bring to production. Is it a critical bug, first of all? Because there are some bugs that might just be cosmetic in nature or might just be low level bugs. That means that, for example, we can deploy to production and later fix those things because they can go. They are not showstoppers. They are not defect that would cause a very severe impact to the system. So you want to be able to validate whether that bug is a critical bug or whether it affects core functionalities or core user flows. If it's a financial system, you want to ensure that it does not affect transactions. For example, you log in, you want to send money, you're sending 5,000, and at the point it's adding 5,001 naira at the receiver's end, something like that. I'm just giving scenario. So you want to be able to ensure that it doesn't affect that. You want to also look at, is there a workaround, or can we accept a partial failure for this kind of bug? So all of these things, once you've been able to identify, oh, this is a critical bug or is an high severity issue, you will need to escalate immediately to engineering and product teams and recommend there should be a recommendation from you, because you are also a gatekeeper as far as that is concerned. Because if something happens tomorrow on production, they will say, oh, did you not test it? That conversation always comes up a lot of time, and the QA team is always the one to be blamed for that. So you need to be able to identify the issue, escalate necessarily to all of the stakeholders and recommend, oh, we can't go live, oh, this bug is a critical bug, or it affects core functionalities or transactions. And then if time allows, then you can quickly reproduce it, capture logs, clearly document the steps so that developers can work on it. And then it's also going to be a learning curve for you as a QA, because if that kind of bug can come close to release, you also need to check, was there something we missed in regression? Was there something we missed because we didn't properly capture an edge case? Or was it a requirement gap? So all of this will ensure that, oh, you are able to now look at where the problem came from, and then you are able to strengthen test coverage. Or was it that somebody deployed something that wasn't properly tested and we just packaged it and felt that, oh, this should go live? You know, all of those things. So those are like very important things to look out for. I believe I've been able to answer your question, Debbie. And I think
Yes, you did. Thank you. But let me just add this to it, that okay, so what if despite your recommendation, the project manager is still keen on, we just have to go on, we just have to release the product because the clients, they are on our neck, they want to do pilot phase, they want to, you understand those scenarios. So how best can we still undo that?
I think it's
That
very
we just
simple.
have to go.
Yeah, it's very simple for you because you have done your best, you've communicated. Just communicate the issues. And I always like emails. Emails are like a strong point because you don't want to go into people's chats and something. Communicate it by email, send it to the project manager. And I'm sure as a QA person, you have like maybe a team lead, a QA manager, and all of that. You are able to communicate, oh, these are the test cases, this is what is failing, this is the bug that was reported, and these are the impact it's likely to have. Put all of this in a document and then communicate it to all of the stakeholders as the case may be. And once you have been able to, because you are recommending, you are not the one to say whether that thing would go live or not in terms of the decisions, especially for the decision makers. You just want to be able to identify all of these things, put it in an email, and then send it to maybe your team lead, copying your project manager and every other person that are necessary in that circle of communication, and ensure that, okay, you've done your part. Whatever comes out of it, so that tomorrow, if that good goes live to production and something begins to happen, you have your reference to say, I mentioned this and I communicated this, and we said we can go live with this and all of that. Yep, that's it from
Thank
me.
you so much. That answers it. Yes, thank you so much.
All right. I think our HR specialist can go next. I hope, can you still recollect the question that was asked? Right now, I think I've lost track of the question.
Sorry, we still have question on salary that Debbie asked,
Yes,
and
yes.
it's not yet.
Right. So a question of salary and asking recruiters what the budget is, and the recruiters going back to saying, well, what's your expectation? This is and this is what I tell people when a list that you can go for. I think it is selfish somehow to always think that somebody's shortchanging you or somebody is trying to deprive you of what is rightfully yours, because you don't even know what it is. So you can't say it's okay for you to think about at every point in time. For example, on my job now, let me say, for example, I am earning 10,000 naira. I know that no company will come and meet me and offer me 12,000 or 13,000 naira and I work 10,000 naira. But the maximum, I'll be very happy if you pay me 20,000 naira. That's where my negotiation power is from. So whatever I don't care if it is your budget or not. What I can take is 15,000 naira or 15,000 naira or higher. The least is 15,000, and you can do 20, you can do 17, you can do 20,000 naira. Anything lower than important to instill in everybody so that you know. Even when a recruiter comes to ask you that question, you are not going back and forth and say, let me know what your budget is. There's a budget for this role. That's not the conversation. The conversation is what are you people? What I want to offer. I don't also be what's the word? Be Yoruba calls it ojukokoro, to be looking at something that you yet don't know about. You don't even know what the salary is. If their budget is 15, if their budget is say 25,000 and you say that you cannot take more than 15 to do with you. That is the HR's job. Our job or his job is to make sure that the company gets a good. What you said you want is what they gave you, or even more. I think it's important that we start having that, ethical conversation to let us know nobody's changing you. What you don't know ownership. No, everybody's doing their job individually. You said that what you want is 10,000 naira. They offered you 10,000. You now find out that the own company could have offered you 25,000. You're not like, why didn't they just no, make sure that the budget for our role, and the budget for every recruitment in the company is managed properly. It is on you. And that's why every time I have a conversation with candidates, I say it is on you to see for you. Right? I think that best answered the question. It's you that will get a bench of, if I'm earning 10,000 naira now, if anybody offers me 15,000, I will not collect. It's that 20,000 or nothing. Want to be having. Make market research. If you don't know the benchmark of what you want to do yet, make market research. Ask questions around people in the same level as you are. This company, what do they currently offer people? This company, what do they offer? And gather that information and use it as your own benchmark.
All right. Thank you. So I don't know if anyone else has any other question. I have some list of questions and I want us to wrap up by 3 o'clock. So latest by 3 o'clock or before 3 o'clock. So the first one I have here is most applicants get into interviews and the HR end up ghosting them. They don't get a feedback on the status of the interview, either it was successful or not successful. So as an applicant, what is your best advice to handle this situation? Is it fair enough for the applicant to send a mail to the organization, and how can they handle this better so it doesn't sound as if they are desperate for the role? So that is one. Let me ask the second one, so I'll just take it two. So the second part of that question is, while engaging in interview, how do we define the thin line between being assertive and overconfident? So I think those two questions are for the HR.
Thank you very much. I think I'll answer the first one first. I don't think there's an offense in following up with recruiters or HRs if you don't get feedback from them. Send an email, a slight reminder to say, oh, I'm enthusiastic, is it still open? If it is still open, let's talk about the opportunity. What is my status on the interview? And I also give reasons why some people some HRs actually, ghost others. Some HR do use ATS, right? I mean, send feedback, reject form of feedback letter to applicants. So they have pools of candidates that they probably screen their interviews or they didn't even see the interview because the CV applications were a lot. And they could time can bring your CV, bubble up to the recruiter's email to say, oh, let me look at this person profile. It can also give you a feedback on what your status of your role is. But this is not me excusing that it's important that HR should set feedback. I'm just saying, as it can. On the other hand, the other question is as regards if there's, I don't think there's anything that sounds like you being overconfident. I don't think so. Is that it is important that you know yourself. If you know the value that you carry, when you speak, the person listening to you would hear it. They won't think of you as overconfident. Although the same thing. Overzealousness and overconfidence is not the same thing. Overconfidence is what I'm talking about right now. I am very certain of it, right? Overzealous is going over the book. I am certain of what I'm talking about, but anything. So I don't think there's anything like overconfident. There, you can be resilious, but you cannot be overconfident.
All right, and I got that comment from a candidate that did not make it through for a job opportunity. So the feedback was the guy was overconfident. I think what happened in the interview was I was not there, but it was just a feedback from someone that I think the guy was being asked a question, and while trying to answer, he tried to nullify the viewpoint of the interviewer, and to the point of making it sound like you don't really know what you're talking about. I know this more than you. So, like, being making the situation sound like this person is not ready to learn when he gets into the organization. Whatever he knows, that's what he continues to take on. He's not adaptable able to change. So that was the
So you
situation.
see, he explains exactly what I said. Yeah, that's exactly. He explains the same thing that I said. If you're overconfident, I've been talking the whole time now, and then I've been making reference, but I know that I cannot have it all. I cannot know everything from each person's POV. Mr. Adewale have spoken from the POV of a technical person, and he's right.
Okay.
I have spoken from the POV of an HR, and I am saying, but I cannot jump on the session and start saying, so what Mr. Adewale said the other time, as though I might agree with him, but there are some things that was record and keep it pushing. Also, when you join an interview, know that everybody on that call are humans. I think we forget that they are humans. You can emotionally fail an interview without even talking. I said that when there's something that is particular statement that I ate, and I say it a lot when I'm speaking. When I'm speaking, when I say, like I said before, I said it just now, like I said before. But in an interview, it is a wrong, because what is telling the person is that you were not listening to me. I've said this thing before. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Giving you people are not, you don't know what you're doing yet. There are trying to understand first that it's a human being that you're talking about, whether they have a happy home or they have a sad home or they are loved at home. they will still bring that perspective to the interview. I will say this, as an HR, there was a point in time about 4 years ago, growing in my career, there's a particular name. If you cannot get the job. You cannot even get an interview. The person did me dirty that time. So that you know that we are humans too. Is it professional? No. Does it cut up for what you feel as a person if you are the person that owns that name? No. But we are humans. I don't know if as you bring your professional self into an interview, also know that you are human and you can humanly or emotionally win an interview if you have the right state of mind, the right state of vibe, and the right.
Okay, I don't know if it's the network. I don't know if you're done. Hello? Hello? Please, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, all right.
Yes, ma, you are.
Okay, I will just follow up with the last two questions.
Sorry, Solomon said that I just read your note. He said you are sorry. Before you answer, I just quickly want to mention this about Solomon. In this situation, what's the best approach? That they said you were overqualified. They couldn't pay you, Solomon. That's what it is. There's nothing like being overqualified. They couldn't pay you. There's
Okay.
no budget. Your salary you called for them. As that. Don't let them use English to bamboozle you. I work out a salary structure in my organization for a good candidate. If my budget for that role is 10,000 naira, and if the hiring manager wants the person by force by fire, I would look for the money. We would somewhere patch a budget that will accommodate the person. The truth is the company didn't have the money to pay you at that time. So
Okay.
that's what it is.
Okay. On to the next question. So you mentioned something about CV writing, and you mentioned ATS score. Could you recommend tools that we can use to align our CV to have a very good ATS score? Then the second question is for you and Adewale. So as a QA, most times QA engineers get this upcoming question about can you tell us a tool that you have used for automation on your current in your current organization or your past place of work? Can you take us through your achievements? So I know I'm aware of some of the principles that you can use to tailor your response. Like I know of STAR principle. I know there are still others. So I would like Adewale to first attempt that question and let us know what is expected of you if you're on the panel as a QA manager, or what are your expectations? And as a HR specialist, if you could just give us a sample of a STAR principle or any other principle we could adopt to communicate our achievements clearly during the interview. So those are the last two questions from me.
Okay. Thank you, Adenike. So I think basically I think what you've asked me, so I can be sure, you are asking about tools that one have used and how you've been able to use those tools to achieve some things, right? Am I correct? I just want to be sure.
Yes, to be more specific, let's say in my CV, I already wrote that I'm versatile at using Cypress. So
Okay.
there's a question that I should take the interviewers through how I was able to automate the application and my achievements after that was completed.
Okay. Okay. So I would if I'm asked about that, so I think because you, as I mentioned earlier when I was having the discussion or the talk, I mentioned that it's not just about knowing about a tool, but also about being able to communicate how you've used that tool. Because the essence of, if we noticed in recent times in the tech world, there are over multiple tools that can do the same work that you need it to do. There's Cypress, there is, before you know, there was a time it was all about Selenium. There was a time later it became about Cypress. Then later it became about Playwright. And then before you know it, will become about another thing. There's always the next thing. So, but in order to communicate that tool journey in terms of how you were able to do it, I think one of the things to say is around the fact that you first talk about what was the need of that automation tool. For example, Cypress. Were you using it to improve regression testing? So it could be in a case that, okay, what was the situation? Oh, in my previous role, I've used Cypress to improve regression testing for critical user journey on, for example, a web application that was released frequently. And what was your own task about it? Because, for example, for building some form of automation, it might be that there's your own contribution. You have like multiple QAs who need to build different things into that system. So maybe your own responsibility was to support and extend the automation for a particular workflow, for example, so that you could reduce manual testing. So in all of it, could say things like, oh, I use Cypress to automate the end-to-end user flow of the application, where I focused on maybe, for example, high impact areas like login, transaction, invitation, and status validation, and that you were also able to structure the test in a modular and reusable way, where you were able to add custom commands for common action and ensure that the data was managed dynamically to avoid flakiness. And then also, you would also mention the fact that you're able to integrate that test suite into a CI/CD pipeline, and that for automation and to also run at every build that you run. And then you also provide a result to say, okay, after all of this, our regression improved maybe by this so amount, or we're able to reduce our manual testing effort for this user flows and all of that. So basically, I think that is it.
All right. Thank you. Over to you, Ajoke. You have two-in-one question, the CV question and this very question. Hello, are you with me? I don't know if she can hear me.
I'm
Hello.
here.
Okay.
I would like you to repeat the question again.
Okay, so the first question,
That's
I
the
said
last
you
question, right?
mentioned, okay, the last question. Do you mean I should repeat both questions? Or okay, the first question is about you recommending tools that we could use to improve our CV to have a high ATS score. Then the do's and don'ts of what should be in the CV. Then the second question is about how to attempt a question about how the interviewee is able to automate a feature using an automation tool, using the STAR principle or any other principle that applies. So these are the questions.
Okay, the last question, I think I already mentioned that during my slide. That's about correct. when I was talking about let me answer the first question. The first question about what tools can be used to say that it is paramount that even if you use tools to work on you, if you use any tool to work on your CV, be sure about the content of the terminologies that you are putting on it. You know, where I mentioned earlier that let the skill set that you put on your CV match what you can do. Don't just put skill set on CVs just because ATS should catch it. And I know a job gap, you can look for job gap. Job gap basically marries what the job gap, you can search it on the internet. Job gap marries what the JD looks like and give you a CV that replicates. You only do that if you know that you can do the job. It is very important that you know. Oh, some people have, like I said before, some people have problems with expressing what they can do. That's when you need tools like that. You don't need to. Don't do it. Don't do it. Also, importantly, you can work on your CV by yourself. There's AI tools that can help you, but make sure that when you're editing it, edit and put terminologies like Adewale had said earlier. Even when you're speaking and you're answering questions and you're using terminologies, QA terminologies, and that your CV also carries the right languages and the right terminologies in your CV. So ATS catch those words, those words, right? The other question that you asked about when you're answering questions. Oh my God, sorry. When you're answering questions, make sure that you are using the method. We talked about situation. This sets the stage of your story and helps the interviewer understand the challenges that you're facing. That's for situation. That's S. For T, the task. Explain the specific responsibility in the situation. Highlight your role, the impact you have in that situation to show how you contributed to the overall. Are you there? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. So I liked your role. It is very, very what your impact was during what's it called? During the situation that you're explaining. Also for the action, describe the steps. I did situation first and then action. Describe the text, the steps that you took the text or the challenge or the problem at the time. Focus on your contribution using I rather than we. When you say we, it's good when you say we so that we know that there's a collaboration. But mostly in the STAR method, make sure that you're saying what you particularly did. Even on this, I was the one that while my team was use languages like that. I was the one that while my team was, do you understand? Then R, which is results, share the outcome of the actions using measurable achievement. Describe the results, use numbers, use percentages, talk about, this is what the achievement was at the end of the day. Emphasize on the positive impact. And that's it. So that's it from my hand.
All right. Thank you so much. Mr. Adewale and our HR specialist, Mrs. Salami Ajoke. It was really an insightful session. We've gained a lot. So we, the members of this community, we are right ready to just go ahead and catch up that job opportunity, that job offer. Thanks so much for your time. We truly appreciate your presence in our midst today. And we're sure that you will still give us audience when next we'll reach out to you. Thanks so much. And I think we've come to the end of today's webinar. We'll constantly have webinar series like this to collaborate and rub our minds together on any areas of concerns. Thanks so much once again. And please drop in your emojis to appreciate our speakers for today. Do have a lovely weekend ahead and enjoy the rest of the day till the next webinar series.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.